Hi, my name is Stephen Swain, and you have entered into the area of counsel for the job search journey. I want to welcome you. Now, it's been a while since I have been here. I apologize for that up front. The holidays and the weekends, they got in the way, right? But we're going to take this opportunity to continue the series that I started a while back on networking and social interaction. Now, understand everything that we're talking about today is in terms of employment and searching for employment. So what do we do? How do we handle that? What should it look like? Now, the first two questions that I answered in the other two videos was this, and that is, what is networking and social interaction? And we discussed what that is. It is simply nothing more than building relationships, bottom line. And then we asked the question, why was it important? We talked about that in depth and detail, and I'll allow you to go to the other videos to see that there. So what is it that we're wanting to talk about and discuss today? And that is, how do I network? Okay, so how do I network? Now, having said that, there are some things that I need to do. I need to do a little bit of a disclaimer here, okay? Because what I'm about to present to you is something that was taught to me, and it was taught to me through the training, the teaching, the materials that is produced and distributed through Lake Point's Job Connection here in Rockwall, Texas. So, I want to put that out there because there is nothing original about any of this that I'm about to share with you. So, take an opportunity, let's start and let's launch into this thing. So, there's one statement and 5 questions that can change your life and someone else's life along with it. And so the first one is the statement, and that is, so tell me about yourself. Now, a lot of people will look at that and they go, and so they want to tell me about, oh, I don't know, how many animals they have on their farm. They want to tell me about their marriage, or how long they've been married, or how many times they've been married. Or they want to tell me about their favorite sport. Yeah, go DBU Patriots, okay? Now, I'm a Dallas Baptist University guy, so I'd shout out to them. So the thing is this, everybody has their team, but when we ask that question, we're not looking for that, okay? We're simply not looking for that, not when it comes to the area of employment. Now, if you're out at a gathering and of people, and you run into somebody and you look at them and you ask them that question, it may be in light of what that gathering is about, or they may decide to expose that information to you. But if it's dealing with employment, whether it's you asking that question or them asking it to you, the 3 areas that you want to stay away from is, first of all, how many animals you have in your house, okay? The second thing is, you need to stay away from your family. You need to keep your family out of this. There's a place for that, and this statement in terms of employment is not the place. And the third thing you need to stay away from is dealing with sports or politics, or even for that fact, religion. All 3 of those areas can get you in a lot of hot water and can cause a lot of people to turn you off. You do not want to be turned off. So the first thing, that when that statement is made, so tell me about yourself, if you're the one that's having that question asked to you, there are 4 things that basically the person that is asking the question, and the 4 things that you, if you are asking the question, are looking for. First of all, they're looking for your name. Hi, I'm Stephen Swain, right? So that's if there's been no formal introduction given ahead of time. The second thing they're looking for is your skills, okay? What do you have to offer them? What are you bringing to the table that they can use or utilize in order to complete a project, to take care of a problem, whatever that might be. And so in my situation, I would say simply that I'm the kind of person who is a learner and gathers data for the sake of achieving a common goal. I am also a personal developer who likes working with teams, even though I can work individually as well. And I love developing those relationships with those team members in order to learn their skills so that they can develop their personal and professional goals. So you see there are 4 things that I've listed there. A learner, a data gatherer, I am an achiever, and then I am a personal developer. The achiever is the driving force behind that, all of that. Why do I learn? I learn to achieve something. Why am I gathering information? To achieve something. Why am I building my relationships? So that those relationships can achieve a common goal, or those relationships can, I can help them in their pursuit of their goals. So that's what that's all coming down to. That's what you're dealing with. That's what you're developing. You're developing that relationship. You're developing a rapport. The third thing that they would be looking for is your accomplishments. Now remember, you're not giving your whole resume away, but yet you are giving your resume away. So what are my accomplishments? My accomplishments are simply this, that I use my skills, okay, as a supervisor and assistant manager in the areas of inventory analysis, inventory management control, records management and control, event planning, and team, as well as team building. So there I've given you my accomplishments. That's how I've used these in the past. Now then you're going to want to know about the work history. Okay, so with me, I'd simply say I've done this working for attorneys and law firms, retirement firms, insurance companies, broker dealers, and various nonprofits. So let's kind of go over all that. How does that work if you're somebody is asking you that question, or you're asking that question? How does that go? Well, you say, so tell me about yourself. You're looking at me and say, Stephen, tell me about yourself. Well, I go, hi, my name is Stephen Swain. I'm the kind of person who is a learner, and I enjoy gathering data for the sake of achieving a common goal. I'm a personal developer who enjoys working with teams, even though I can work individually by myself. But when I work with teams, I not only work with them to achieve that common goal, but I work with them in order to also help them develop their skills so that they can achieve their personal goals and professional goals as well. Now, I've done that as a supervisor and assistant manager in terms of inventory analysis, control, and management, records management, control, event planning, and as well as team building. I've used those while I've been working for attorneys and law firms, retirement firms, insurance companies, broker dealers, as well as various nonprofits. And I bring that opportunity here for you to utilize in your company so that you can prosper as well. So that's what we're looking for when that question is asked. So that's what you're looking for when you ask that question or you make that statement, and that's what they're looking for, okay? So I've said nothing about my family. I've said nothing about how many animals I have. I've said nothing about my religion, my favorite sports team, or I've said nothing in terms of politics. I've left all that off the table. Why? Because it has nothing to do with it, okay? So if you're at a political event, you may be looking for somebody's political analysis on things. If you're in a religious setting, you may be asking somebody their theological understanding on something. But in this situation, that's not what you're doing. So there are 5 questions that need to be asked. And these are really simple questions. And you can ask these questions as easily as the next person. First of all, how did you get into such an interesting industry? Now remember that you just asked them a question. You've said, tell me about yourself. You've made a request, okay? It's not a question per se, but it is a request. Therefore, I guess it is a question. So how did you get into such an interesting industry as, you might ask me, inventory analysis? And I would look at you and say, that's an interesting question. Or I might say, that's an interesting story. Those are always the 2 things that people say every time I ask them this question. I was told by the gentleman who leads over at Lake Point Job Connection Group. He used to tell us that's going to always be the response. I have done close up to this point in time, I've done close to 40 networking interviews with people, and every time I come to this question and say, so tell me, how did you get into such an interesting industry? And I pull something out of that first statement, right? They always look at me and say, that's an interesting question. That's an interesting story. They had one of those 2, and sometimes it's been a combination of both. So they're always going to be, one, because people enjoy talking about themselves. Let's just face it, that we're all by nature narcissistic in some way, fashion, or form, and we all want some attention. So when somebody gives us the availability for that, we have a tendency to take it. Unless we just happen to be a tendency to be a very exceptionally humble person, right? So what is it that you would say, so Stephen, tell me, how did you get into inventory analysis? I'd look at you and say, that's an interesting question. Because when I went to work for my last, the last company that I came from, I went to work for them as what they call a forms tech, and that is I would pull forms and brochures and the information that they wanted. I'd mail it out, or I'd set it up to pack it up and to ship it out, because sometimes we would have conventions and we would have various other areas, places that we would be sending this stuff in bulk, and I would send it out. And they looked at me one day and said, we're needing an inventory analysis person. I'm like, oh, okay. And they're like, we chose you. You did what? You chose you. Why did you choose me? And it was all because of a misunderstanding of a statement that I made on my resume. On my resume, I said that I inventoried records in records management. Now you understand, inventorying records and records management is a lot different than inventorying items. But they looked at me and they said, that's okay. You have an idea and understanding of inventory. You go ahead and do it. And I'm going like, yeah, right. What? And there was no question I was going to be the man that took the hour. So I did. Now here's the funny thing about it. I turned out, I'm a learner, right? So the first thing I do is start reading stuff. I go out to people, I talk to people, I networked with people. I found people that knew and understood product inventory. I read stuff about product inventory online. I mean, there's tons of white paper out there on that subject. I read books. I asked questions. I went and developed a relationship with all the leading managers over the different various departments who had material that they were very upset with the fact that, we were running at a 40% accuracy rate. That's not good. So I did what I could to build that and to learn about that, and we went from 40% accuracy to 96, 97% accuracy over the next 15 years. How did I get into it? I did like what a lot of the rest of us do. I stumbled into it. That's what you're looking for. How do you get into this interesting industry? The second question you may say, what is the greatest satisfaction you get from what you do? For me, you might say, what was the greatest satisfaction that you got from what you did? And I would look at you and say, there were two things that really were great satisfaction to me. First one that was a great satisfaction to me was the fact that we went from that 40% accuracy to 96, 97% accuracy, and we held it for 15 years. That would be the first thing. The second thing that I would relate to you is the fact that I had the opportunity to build relationships with people. I had to build relationships with the people who were doing the work, right, pulling the stuff, and make sure that they understood what was supposed to be done and how it was supposed to be done. And then I needed to learn about their work habits, about their work schedules, about their abilities, and how they utilized those skills that they had in that situation. And sometimes I would find people had dreams of going further and doing more. And so then I would begin to build those relationships to see how I could enhance their abilities. Now here's the thing, I not only did that, but I built relationships and rapport with my management going all the way up to the vice president of the company, or one of the vice presidents of the company. And then I also used that opportunity to build relationships with all of the managers and supervisors and people who were working over those products to find out how we could best serve them. So it brought a lot of pleasure and enjoyment to my life to be able to do that. So there's a story behind it. So then you may say, based on what you told me, and this is the third question you're going to ask as far as the questions are concerned, you're going to say, based on what you told me, what are some of the changes you've experienced through the years? And I'll tell you, some of the changes that we experienced were pretty phenomenal. We went from we went from not understanding how to inventory those items and keep track of them, to also being able to track them. We went from being, I went from leading a team that had one certain kind of computer technology to it, to helping them upscale that technology so that we could track that information better. I changed it by causing people to realize that it had less to do with what was on the shelf and more to do with the information that we were holding, how much we received in, how much they said they sent, how much was received in, how much went on the shelves, how much left the shelves, and all this other stuff. So there were a lot of changes that went on, and we went from also, because of that, we were able to track better how much of that material was being produced and thrown out. We figured out that there was close to $600,000 worth of material at one point being tossed. Now you take that over a 15-year period and you see there's a lot of money that would be wasted, but fortunately I caught it within my second year and was able to turn those tables by the third year, so that over the next 11 or so years we saved them close to $600,000 in terms of destruction. It went from $600,000 down to $39,000 to $59,000. So there's a lot of waste that was going on. We found a way to change that. We found another way of changing waste was to do things that was called print on demand, and we saved them literally thousands of dollars a month in regards to that. So those are some of the changes that I have seen. Then you may ask, well, what's the greatest challenges you faced? That's the next question you would ask. And if you ask me what were the challenges that we faced, well, the challenges that we faced was that people did not understand what was going on in that department, how things worked. They didn't understand inventory control outside. To them, it was just print it and make it go in there, and if we put 1,000 of something on the shelf, then, and we use 500, 500 should be what's left. And that would be a common thought. However, because you have variances, we found out that there were 6 different forms of variances and problems and issues that were going on. We had to address those with those people and say, look, you know, everything from human error to system errors and to stuff getting destroyed when it goes out, and we have to send another order back out that maybe you didn't request us to do that. We did that, and then there was slippage on our part that kept us from recording that properly. There could be any number of things that happen that keeps that balance off. The thing is that balance was much closer now than it had ever been before. So the challenges were just trying to build the relationships and get people to understand what was going on. So what was the greatest challenges that I faced? And that was the challenge, getting them to understand what we were dealing with. And this is the point, though, you're going to listen very carefully to what the person is saying, because if you listen to what the person is saying very carefully, then this is the opportunity you're going to take, if you're the person that's asking the questions, to reach into your life's experiences and pull out a story that best matches that challenge. And when you do, when they're finished describing their challenges, you want to lay that story out that discusses how that you overcame those kinds of challenges. So you're going to do that, and then you're going to end your discussion with them by asking them, after you've told your story, this final question. So, how do you see someone with my skills in this industry? How do you see me fitting into this industry? You're not asking for a job. You're not looking for a job. As far as that's concerned, you're looking for information. But now you're laying it out there to say, you know what? I have something that I can offer you. And you want to run with it. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to go after it. Most of the time, people will reach out and they will take that and they will process it, and they'll say, this person may add some value here. Now, not every time that you walk in and you do this, they're going to have a job. And sometimes you're going to do this not really looking for a job. You're seriously looking for information. But when it comes down to it, when it boils down to it, if you can make that, you can flip that switch and make them go, aha, you're going to actually help yourself, and you're going to benefit them too. So, what about your dogs and your cats and your ponies and your fish at home? What about the marriage or marriages that you've been through? What about the sports, the religion, and the politics? Well, those are personal items that when you come to the office, you don't necessarily leave behind. They follow you everywhere you go. However, allow people the opportunity to get to know you and to take the time to get to know you and enjoy the work that you put out. And as time goes on, those things will happen. So that's network and social interaction. If you want to bring this down to a social level where we're dealing with a party that we're at, or a function or something like that, you can walk up to somebody, so tell me about yourself. And if they tell you about their dogs and their cats and their marriage or marriages or their kids or their other issues, then you can sit there and listen. And I've had opportunity to use this. I went to one gathering where there was a gentleman that was over at the food bar, and he was talking. He was kind of a loud fellow, and I went over there to him. I noticed that a lot of people were not wanting to be around him. And I thought, well, this was somebody screaming out for attention. So I walked over to him. I said, so tell me about yourself. So he started talking to me. But I noticed that in his discussions with everybody who was around, he liked to talk about football. And I said, so tell me, what got you interested in such a fun sport as football? And I got to hear a story that was just amazing, that people were missing because they didn't take the time to sit there and listen to this guy. And when I finished the conversation, I looked at him and I said, so tell me who your favorite sports team was when you were a kid. And he'd tell me. And we wound up having one of the best conversations of the evening for about an hour. I talked to him. And I wound up getting introduced to quite a few people as a result. It's funny how that all works. So take the time to get to know people. Take the time to let people know you. Be sure to bring into those things. And when you're looking for a job, these questions are pertinent. Ask them while you're in the middle of an interview for a job. Don't, feel threatened. You need a moment to think. Give them an opportunity to talk. Look at them and say, so tell me, how did you get into this interesting industry? Find out how they got into it. Find their personal histories. You'd be surprised what people will be willing to tell you about. Sometimes they'll say, do you mean this company? You go, no. I'm not talking about the company. I'm talking about the industry itself. How did you get into this industry? And you will find out how they got into that company. And you'll find out that just like anything else, they just stumbled into it. Rarely do we actually shoot for something and wind up walking into it. So, here it is. One more time, real quick. Here's what you need to ask, right? You need to ask, or really make the statement, or you're requesting information, so tell me about yourself. Then you need to ask, how did you get involved in such an interesting industry as this? Then you need to ask them, what is the thing that they've enjoyed the most about their journey in that industry? In fact, let me just kind of go back over this real quick, because one time I went through one of these with a gentleman, and he called me 3 days later and he says, I want you to know, before you network interviewed me, I was thinking about quitting my job. I was thinking about leaving this position, instead leaving it all behind because I was tired of dealing with it. But because you asked me about that story and how I got involved and what I enjoyed the most about it, he said it reignited everything. So ask them what they enjoy. What are the changes they've seen? What are the challenges that they face? And then ask them, how do I fit in this industry if I were to get in? Don't forget to tell the story first, okay? Tell the story as a result of them talking about the challenges they face. Lay out your skills and what you enjoy doing, and then ask them how you fit into this amazing industry they're in. Well, you may ask the question, hey, Stephen, we'd like for you to come speak with us. I have an hour-and-a-half presentation set up dealing with all three of these areas of what is networking, social interaction, why is it important, as well as how to do it. This right here. I want to one more time give a disclaimer on this section that I'm talking about, and that is that this is the results of the materials and the teachings that go on at Lake Point Church's Job Connection in Rockwall, Texas. I want to make sure that I re-emphasize that one more time. So there's nothing original about this section. This is not me gathering the information from different sources and bringing it to you and presenting it to you. This is their what they teach. If you happen to be in the Rockwall, Heath, Fate, Royce City, up to Greenville, out through Terrell, all the way down into Mesquite, Southeast Dallas, Garland, Rowlett, even Plano and Wiley areas. and you're needing someplace to go, these people can help you out. They will train you as to what you need to do as far as your job search journey is concerned. So I want to give out that kudos to them one more time. If you want me to come speak, just call that number and leave a message, or email me at that email address. And when you do, make sure you put in there speaking engagement, and then I'll get back with you and we'll make the arrangements accordingly. So again, my name is Stephen Swain. Glad that you came along with me on this journey for this job search. Thank you very much, and God bless you.